Album covers. I have done many videos on the subject at this point. Good albums with bad covers, bad albums with good covers, okay albums with okay covers, but sometimes it's not so black and white, and an album cover can be bad, fine, or even great, but when you listen to the music, it is completely off the vibe you were expecting. So I asked you guys for some albums that don't sound like the covers, and wow, you guys answered. Crazy how many people are answering these things. Let's begin. Party Cannon, Partied in Half. Oh my god. Well, I will tell you, if this was a video on good album covers, this one would fit right in. This is a great cover. I've heard most of the albums today, but I'm fairly sure I haven't heard this one. So, I mean, without knowing anything about the band, my guess would be that this is something crazy, like Extra Tone, or some crazy breakcore stuff. Oh my god, so it's metal. I'm not an expert, I don't know what genre of metal that was. It might have been slam. You know, I already liked this cover, but after hearing what it sounds like, I think I love it. My thing with a lot of metal albums is that they take themselves so seriously in the covers and try to make it look as epic and hard as possible. So I love that this band is having fun with everything from the Toys R Us logo, which is kind of crazy that they wouldn't get a cease and desist from them. The confetti bursting out of this dude's abdomen. I love it. The whole vibe of this kind of reminds me of LMFAO, or at least the vibes that their music videos would have. Now, obviously, this cover doesn't match the album, but this is this is purposeful. There's some juxtaposition going on here, and I think it's pretty clever. Sunbather by Deaf Heaven. This is one of those album covers that I feel like you see online a lot. At least I would see it posted in people's lists and on music forums and stuff. So it was on my list of albums that I gotta check out at some point for a long time. And I didn't even really think about what kind of music it is. I just assumed it was some kind of EDM, maybe indie, but that cover screams EDM music. I could just imagine a little Calvin Harris at the bottom. I was very confused when I eventually checked out this album, and it's not really a style I'm generally super into usually. It has some slower indie moments, but for the most part, it's pretty intense, especially when you're staring at that while you're listening to something like this. Yeah, this one is the textbook example, and I'm just very curious what their reasoning for this cover is, if they were maybe inspired by EDM album covers. It's a very interesting choice. Train's self-titled album. It looks like some dark punk or even metal, but it's just chill rock. Oh, wow. Okay, now this album looks like it would sound like that last one. I think it's really the Train logo that pushes this over the edge, because something about it gives new metal. It gives Korn album. To be fair, this album is more traditional rock, we're Train sounding stuff than their newer, more popular Ukulele. Hey, what you doing? I just wanna smooching on the train, I'm on the train, I'm training on the train, So this does fit more with their earlier sounding stuff than if this album had stuff like that. It is funny how their logo looks so hard though. That logo could be on the cover of a horror movie about a haunted train, and it would fit perfectly. Chromacopia's cover made me think the album would sound dark and evil, but then Balloon starts playing. Did you listen to the rest of the album? No, I mean, there are some surprisingly happy sounding tracks on this album. Stickies on it, for God's sake, something straight out of the high school food court. But that's kind of the point of the album, at least how I saw it, was kind of going between these dark, introspective points where he has the mask on, and then taking off the mask and doing something a little wackier, like Sticky or Balloon. Because in the context of the album, especially after some of the other songs, they kind of feel cathartic, especially Balloon, coming right after Like Him. It totally feels like a deep therapy session, and he's just having that burst of freedom and feeling great afterwards. So I do get what you're saying, but it's not like the whole album sounded like that. I think enough of the album and its core themes running throughout was centered around this mask idea that I think it worked, and I think it would fit a lot worse with a bright, happy looking cover. Pet Sounds has a lack of sounds coming from pets. You're not wrong. I know this cover's been on one of the album cover videos before, but I can't remember if someone was saying it was a good cover or a bad cover. And honestly, this is one of those that's so hard to judge, because it's one of those albums that I've seen my whole life, and I associate all of the sounds and emotions to this cover, so it's really hard to look at it objectively. But you're right, what the hell does Pet Sounds even mean? This album is amazing, it's one of my favorite albums of all time, but what the hell does them feeding goats have anything to do with it? I am so curious why the name Pet Sounds, why this cover. It might be obvious and I might be stupid, but I can't disagree here. It is pretty funny that listening into a masterpiece of a song like God Only Knows, I'll be seeing this on my screen. Like, okay, feed those goats. 20 Jazz Funk Greats by Throbbing Gristle. Crazy artist name. This is another one I haven't heard, but I saw it commented a lot, so it must sound pretty crazy. It looks like a super straightforward album cover from this era, so I am curious what Throbbing Gristle was cooking up here. Is it not 20 Jazz Funk Greats? Oh my god. Okay. You know what this feels like? This feels like one of those prank packs of gum where you pull out the piece of gum and it shocks you. Hand this album to an old person, same thing. Okay, don't actually do that though. I don't want to give any old people heart attacks. Yeah, why did they do this? Are they trying to punk people? Is this a joke? Is there a communication error here? Do they not know what jazz or funk is? There's a lot of questions I have, but one thing I do know, that cover does not match the album. Benson Boone, American Heart. I mean, this album is boring and obnoxious. The album cover is boring and obnoxious, so they kind of go together. Very interesting choice, though, to basically be dressing up as Harry Styles all the time, and then just randomly put out this weirdly patriotic album cover. Very strange time. I don't know if he's genuinely that disconnected from what's going on in America right now, or if he's just that confident in making his stance known, but very weird. Seeing this cover, I would either assume it's a country album, or it's super ironic. And then he talks about how screwed up America is. But it's neither of those things. It's just the most generic pop music. Here before Benson turns into a country artist. Baby Keem's The Melodic Blue looks like an R&B album cover, not a trap cover. Yeah, I mean, a lot of this album isn't really trap either, but it's definitely not R&B. I love this cover, and I also really like the album, but it does look like the cover to a very introspective album, and some of it's kind of introspective about his whole two-phone situation, but a lot of it is just talking about hoes, which is just not what I would think he's thinking about sitting on this beautiful little pier. Punk 2 by Breakin' screams 70s folk album, but it's a blend of hyperpop, emo, glitch hop, and trap. This does look like a folk album. I mean, Breakin's is from the Midwest, right? Or somewhere around there. I feel like the whole hyperpop scene that came out of the Midwest, like Underscores too, has had this really interesting, like, emo and sometimes folky sound to it. This album, not so much, but it does have enough funky elements that I feel like when you look at it, you don't think it's just a folk album. Like, you might think it's a folk album, but not knowing what it sounds like, I would think there's something a little fishy going on. There's gonna be at least some experimentation, you know? Definitely doesn't match the album as well as some of his other covers, like Hypochondriac. Perfect, amazing, perfection. This one, not so much. Richard D. James' album Aphex Twin. This menacing grin from Mr. Twin himself would remind me more of the scary and intense sounds that were already present in this era of Aphex Twin's career. However, when putting the album on, you are met with the most warm and bubbly songs he has ever produced in his career. Truly a beautiful juxtaposition. You did not have to go so hard writing this little paragraph. I appreciate the context. Yeah, I mean, a lot of Aphex's stuff has that, like, silly vibe to it, but this one does feel a little more sinister. It gives me the same vibe as that one Blank Mass album. I forget what the name is, but that album cover matches the album perfectly, and it's super dark and spooky. That's what I would imagine this album sounds like in Aphex Twin's own little way, but no, it's really nice little bubbly beats. But I don't know, I mean, maybe he looks so sinister because he knows that he's tricking us with this cover. You think this is gonna be scary, but it's not. You got me, Mr. Twin. I thought it was gonna be scary. The Texas Jerusalem Crossroads by Lift to Experience looks like a cringe southern rock album, but instead it's the best shoegaze album ever. This was the first album cover that I featured on my good album covers video, and I don't think I even have to say that much about it. Instead, I will show you how I reacted to this album. Play the clip, future me. I haven't heard this album, so I'm gonna listen to some of it, and we'll see if it's as bad as the cover. This is a very deceiving cover. Looking at it, you think that one bad album, what is it called? I can't remember the name of it. It will magically appear right here, though. I thought it was going to sound like that album, but it sounds amazing. This one is either a shame or just some expert gatekeeping on their part. last one. Mad Villainy by MF Doom. It looks like a horrorcore type record, but it's actually some kind of goofy 2000s stoner rap. This album cover is very deceiving. To have such a menacing cover on your album, and then you put it on, and it's just cartoons and cereal. I love eating Doritos, and my Fritos are good too. Comic books are pretty cool. I like reading comic books while I eat my Fritos and cereal. No hate to MF Doom at all. This is one of my favorite albums, but I think a cover like Foods fits MF Doom's vibe a lot more than this scary ass cover, but maybe that's what makes this album so iconic. This is MF Doom, Mad Villain in his true form, eating Doritos, Fritos, and Cheetos. That's the video. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know in the comments if there's a big example of this that I missed. If you liked the video, feel free to leave a like, and if you really liked it, hit the subscribe button. Also join my Discord. And if you like movies, I have a movie channel called Blustre. Bye. Oh my god, wait. If you're already subscribed, here's your blustre point. Okay, bye.